I probably would have self-destructed, but not anymore because I have this balance, and I know I can't let her down, and I know I'm not going to let myself down. I'm not going to let my kids down. They've seen too much, and they've seen me come full circle. But it's a combination of everything. Welcome to another episode of Kaizen Cast. Small steps, big changes. Well, this morning I decided to do it a little different, just to be a little bit more relaxed. I got the pups out here. It's a beautiful morning in Southwest Florida again, and it's very, very peaceful out here on my lanai. So before I get into, I'm actually also having a little bit of coffee, so it's really peaceful today. And I figured I'd do an episode, just me and the pups outside. But as we all know, that what we're trying to do with Kaizen Cast is grow this from a family into an army, but in a way where we're doing it organically, but also trying to help others. It is exactly what it means. Kaizen in Japanese means 1% continuous growth each day. And that's what we're trying to do. So I have a buddy, a young man, actually. He's more like my kid's age, who is who we stay in touch with each other all the time via text. I met him in the gym, and I see him in the gym a lot. But he texted me last night and he said, your brick by brick mentality is actually rubbing off on me. And he basically was trying to thank me for being in his life. So sorry if I get a little bit emotional, because today's one of those days where I have a lot of emotions going on, because I can't believe it, but today is a day where Ty is actually leaving the house to head back up north to visit his mom, which is great. But I can't believe school's over already. But so I'm a little bit emotional about a lot of different things. But back to my buddy Jay. He said to me, we're building this thing brick by brick. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Rebuild my life like that. Because when you lose focus of the three major things that we always talk about, health, wealth, and relationship, and you stray from that and don't have balance, right? Like it's always goes back to the balance. And it's funny because I was on with my therapist, John, yesterday. And yes, I do talk to a therapist. But this guy is truly amazing. And he said to me, because I told him, I said, some big things are going to happen. Some chapters are closing in my life, that I'm ready to move on to the next chapter. And some other things are going to happen, I think, that are going to be amazing. But through this process of struggling and fighting every day to try to keep my head above water, I've learned that a couple things. Balance in my life is so important. Leaning on my wife, and not leaning on people that don't see what I see. And that doesn't mean that I can't be friends with them. It's just that we're not very like-minded in some ways. So instead of having arguments, why am I doing this? Get around people that see my vision, like my wife and my kids, and a small circle of friends that I have, and run with that, because that's how you become successful. Interesting how life plays itself out too. I was talking about balance, right? Like the crazy thing about balance is that when I was younger, I never had balance. And I'm still learning at 53 how to have balance, because I am hyper when I get involved in something. Like I've always told you this, just like when I'm doing with Kaizen Cast, I don't just jump in with two fingers, and I jump in my whole body, head, everything, and I'm going for this. Now, whether it works, it works. But for me, Kaizen cast does work brick by brick, because you know what? I'm getting such an unbelievable feeling. It's a euphoric feeling, because when I can help people, and this is really, really important. So everybody got to listen. And this goes back to the balance. It all ties into each other. When you're helping others and you're serving and not being selfish like I used to be, I got caught up in the me, even though I was an unbelievable teammate, unbelievable leader. It was always about, in the back of my mind, how was I going to get drafted? Well, imagine that. It never happened. Because if I was more serving to my team, maybe more helpful with other things outside of like just worrying about how many hits I had and all that other stuff, it might have come out differently. Maybe not though, because maybe I just wasn't supposed to. Maybe that was just part of the God's plan, right? Like not having him in my life when I probably should have when I was younger was a reason for my downfall, because I don't have. Well, I have it now, the discipline, right? Like I tell you, motivation, I've always had motivation, but it's the discipline, because that's the stuff that keeps you going every day. The days you don't want to work out are the days you have to be in the gym. And those are the days that I get in there. And once you get out of there, you feel like it's an unbelievable feeling. But my point is that you have to have this motivation plus discipline plus balance. And a lot of times, I think people like myself that are hyper focused on something, we lose that balance, and we lose that focus. And I just said this to John yesterday about staying in the moment, right? Like it's so important, because I'm always thinking about the future. I'm always thinking about what if. And then you put doubt in your mind, right? So then once you have doubt in your mind, now that reads to your gut, and then you start second guessing yourself, like, maybe I'm not as smart as I am. Well, shit. I realized through this process of hemorrhaging money and having a lot of pressure on me that I am very smart. And and along with my wife being in my life and understanding me and understand how my mind works, and able to pivot when we had to pivot, and able for her to listen to me when I needed somebody to listen. I didn't need anybody to tell me what I was doing wrong. I just needed it. And trust me, I love my wife, but she will definitely tell me when I'm doing something wrong. But when I needed her to listen and just be there, and just so I could bounce stuff off of her, and knowing that she's on the same wavelength, not, it's hard. There's a fine line between, being on the same page and then always second guessing your partner, right? So like, she's always on the same page. Sometimes she's finishing my sentences. That's how crazy it is. But I think that's part of me being blessed, right? Like I at this point in my life, I needed that. I said it to him yesterday. I said it to John. I said, listen, at the end of the day, if Lori isn't in my life, I don't have balance. And like the next step, the next chapter, when the money starts coming back, which I know it will. I don't know if it'll ever be where it used to be, but I know it will. I probably would have self-destructed, but not anymore, because I have this balance, and I know I can't let her down, and I know I'm not going to let myself down. I'm not going to let my kids down. They've seen too much, and they've seen me come full circle. But it's a combination of everything. How do you handle this, right? How do you handle the balance part of it? Well, most times people get hyper focused into whatever they're trying to do, whether it's make it in sports, make tons of money, start a new business and get that off the ground to be successful. I'm watching my buddy. So just so you know, I have a very good friend. I think I mentioned him, BJ. he has started a new fund. But I watch, I watch and I learn. I watch him as a person. He always has time for me. He always has time for his family. Like, as hard as he's working. Now, I don't know when he sleeps, but he's always there. So talk about, like, in an environment where it's not that easy to get a fund off the ground right now, and he's doing amazing things. He has time for everything. So there's balance, and he's successful. He's always been successful. Been on Wall Street 30 years, 25 years. He's my age, maybe longer than me. And now decided to jump into something different and start his own fund. And I'm so proud of him and so blessed to be his friend. But at the end of the day, he still has balance. Most people get hyper focused on that. I got to get the fund off the ground. And then he loses track of his wife. He loses track of his kids. And those are the people that, oh yeah, at the end of the day, he's worth $200, $300, $400 million when the fund gets up and running and it's cranking. But he lost track with all the other stuff in his life. Very, very hard to keep balance and keep it all together. It's an interesting thought. And the reason why I share that with everybody is because I was horrible at it. I always hyper focused on the one thing that I was trying to do. And you can't be that person. So this brings me ties into Ty. I watched Ty's baseball career. And he's, over the last 2 years has had some ups and downs with injuries. But I've never seen his demeanor change. He's never gotten too high when things were great. He's never gotten too low when he's been injured and, into a point of, like, it looks like he's in depression. I 100%, when I was a kid, if I ever got hurt like that, would have went into depression. I give him credit, and this is why I know he's going to follow his dream. That's not a dream. It's actually going to become reality pretty soon, because he has the perfect mindset for the game of baseball, which is the game of life. How do you accept failure? That's what it leads me into the next thing. Failure. Most successful entrepreneurs fail a lot, go broke multiple times, but they find a way to pick themselves back up and get over that hurdle and move on and keep pushing forward. There's a lot of people out there that don't want to have this this lifestyle, or it's not in their DNA or their personality, because it's not who they are as a person, and that's fine. There's a lot of different personalities out there. But I'm watching my youngest son battle through injury. And sorry, my eyes are watering because I have allergies, not because I'm crying, but you guys know, that I have no problem sharing my feelings. But today's not one of those days where I'm crying. So anyways, off topic. But watching him battle and just not change, and the gigantic smile he has on his face every single day. It's truly amazing, and I'm blessed that he's my son, because I look back on my career, even my business career. God, my highs were so high and my lows were so low. Ups and downs and ups and downs. And talk about good way to have a heart attack and your cortisol to go through the roof, and it's so bad for your body. The more you can stay on this even keel playing field throughout your career or throughout your business career, the more successful you're going to be. And here's what I'll tell you: the more people that are going to want to be around you. So it's funny, I'm finding out now at 53, this balance that I have, that it's given me peace, but it's also given me a better source of being a leader. I've always had leadership qualities. I think you're born with it. I think you can always, like my oldest son, leader. My daughter, leader. Like it's in their DNA. They know how to lead. I feel like I've also told them a lot about it, but I also think it's in their DNA to be leaders. But you can always work on your leadership skills, right? When you're a leader, you listen. When you yell and scream and people fear you, you're a dictator, right? So the great leaders know how to listen, but they also know how to give direction and teach. And this is what I've kind of come to the realization of what I'm learning now is that I want to help others and teach. Just had an hour and a half phone call with one of Ty's buddies, great young man, Henry. And the conversation was mostly about crypto, but um, it was about life too, and his next journey and his next steps while he's in college and like what he's trying to learn. And I listen. Everybody knows I didn't go to college for school. I went to college to play baseball. I don't lie about that, and I'm never gonna. I will always tell that because I probably shouldn't even went to college. If I went to college and didn't play sport, I would have wasted all my parents' money. And I think there's a lot of people out there that do that. They just go to college because that's what you're supposed to do. And God forbid you don't have the piece of paper. I don't believe in that anymore. I used to believe that you needed a piece of paper to get a job, but maybe college isn't it for everybody. But my wife and I have this discussion all the time. It's important that you do get the piece of paper. But anyways, back to me personally. Sorry to get off the subject of like all that because that's a whole nother topic. But I think that people actually have to understand, especially the way I was, that if I would have wasted my parents' money, that would have been embarrassing. Now, I was there for a purpose, right? But I was hyper focused, and I told you I didn't have balance. And my highs were super high when I was going great on the field, and my lows were super low when I was playing like shit. But I still tried to lead. So there was this combination of having that born with that leadership quality and knowing how to win. But I didn't know how to win for me, if that makes sense, like understanding me. But now that I'm older, I am teaching, which I love. Not that I would have been a good teacher in school, but what I'm teaching people about is life. All my life lessons I have to share because there's been a lot of failures in there too. You know, let's talk about the health part of it, right? Knock down the major three: health, wealth, and relationship. I did them great sometimes, and then I failed at them sometimes. But do people really admit that? Do people really admit that to themselves, that it was on them for all those three things? And if they did one of them great and the other two they failed at, are they going to admit that? That's what I always ask everybody. Because I ask myself that, and I have to look back and I go, okay, the health. Was I in the best shape in college? I was in decent shape, but I'm in way better shape now because of what my wife's taught me and about sleep and about nutrition and protein. And I didn't know any of that shit. And most of the people around me didn't know anything about it. Even the guys that were in shape, kind of skinny, they didn't have a ton of muscle. They were skinny because they ran a lot and they ate less and they really, really didn't drink in college, but were they in great physical shape? No. Then I let myself go once baseball ended to get myself up to 300 pounds. Again, mind over matter, right? I told my pops, I'm done fucking training. I'm going to eat, drink like a Viking and make tons of money. I did all three. Got myself up to almost 300, and I was doing unbelievable numbers on Wall Street. Then I realized I was almost going to die. Mixing in obviously the drinking and the pills, and I was bringing the house down, snoring and sleep apnea and all that other shit, which I would never wear the CPAP or anything like that. So I lose 50 pounds. Again, mind over matter. Did I want to do that? No, because my lifestyle was eat, drink, sleep, make money. Eat, drink, sleep, make money. And I would work out at the gym, right? You go to the gym. This is funny because I see this down here. I have buddies in the gym that, I've been going to the same gym for 5 years. They look exactly the same after 5 years. My transformation after 5 years, I went down from 300 to 250 by the time I got to Florida, 245, and then I lost another 50 pounds. Got under 200, but I was very, very skinny. Well, as my wife say, you're never skinny. I just don't have the body to be skinny. But I didn't look good. And then I put on 20 pounds of muscle. Got my body fat down to 13%, which is pretty damn good for a 52-year-old or 50. At the time I was 52 or 51, 53 now. And so think about mind over matter, right? So the health part of it, good Lord, look where I went over the last 20 years, 30 years, even 40 years, right? Because I was a little chubby as a kid. You got to remember, come from an Italian family. My mom's an unbelievable cook. We were eating good. And I never, once again, the addictive, compulsive person that I am, like I tell my wife, I'm never full. I never get full. So I can continually eat and eat and eat, just like I can continually drink and drink and drink. There was no such thing as like, let me just have one piece of pepperoni bread. Let me eat the whole loaf, or let me at least eat half of it. And that's for 100%. You could ask my mother that's for sure. So learning how to control, again, balance, learning how to listen. Because when my wife tells me things and I'm 53 years old, there's mornings where I wake up and want to be like, really? Like, yeah, I'm 6 years old. But she does it because she loves me. And she knows that I have little issues with my liver or other things that are going on that we have to worry about. And she cares about me. If she didn't care about me, she wouldn't bring these things up. But as an alpha male, sometimes you don't want to hear that shit. But then you have to step back and be like, she does this because she loves you. And then you get back into that balance stage. There's no anger. There's no fight. Because remember, John always tells me, you got three spots, 3 steps: fight, flight, or freeze. I've never gone into the flight mode, and I've never gone into the freeze mode. It's always instantly, let's get after it, whether it's an argument or throw hands or whatever it may be. I'd much rather do it that way than deal with the freeze where I feel like I'm getting abused or I'm going to run. But I've also learned as I got older, sometimes it's better to walk away than have the argument. Interesting. So then you talk about the health part, right? So that's my crazy story with the health. Then you talk about the wealth part. Well, shit. Again, when you're selfish and not serving others, and it was always about me making more money. Listen, when I had my buddies that made it to the big leagues and my close friends, and there was a few of them and actually a bunch of guys that got drafted from my team. And when I didn't get drafted, again, selfish, happy for them, but selfish. Why didn't I get a chance? I went to Wall Street angry. I mean, really angry. And the only thing I could think about is, again, here's the compete mode, and then hyper focused on being great at what I was going to do there. And I became great at it, was make as much money as I could each and every year to be like, all right, well, those guys are in the big leagues and I'm making more fucking money than them. But where did it get me? It got me down a road of, again, this goes back to I was almost, I was going from, I think when I got married, when I was 26 years old, I was 238, 242 pounds to where I was now, on Wall Street for a year doing really, really well, um, to probably like 260. And then what do you do when you're young? Instead of instead of thinking about how you're going to make your money work for you, I'm thinking about the shiny bright things, materialistic bullshit to show myself off because I'm selfish and I need a bigger car, I need a bigger house, I need the $20,000 watch. I need to go on these trips. Got to fly private, because it just kept feeding my ego, but also I got caught up in the wealth part of it, but it was the wrong way to do it, right? Because I wasn't helping anybody. I was helping myself. Just keep eating, just keep eating. Not helping others. Now, in my head, I was like, well, I'm the most generous person. I help people, I tip very well. I do all this stuff, being kind to people, but helping others, really? Nah, that was all make believe. It's an interesting thought because I have a, it's such a, and again, I'm telling you what a peaceful morning it is. The dogs haven't even moved. They're just relaxing, laying down. And it's just a different way of life and peace that I have. And by the way, right now, outside of, so go back to where that goes to the wealth part. After a year and a half, I go broke. Owed $300,000. Don't know how I'm going to get out of this mess. Go to work at FedEx in the middle of the night for benefits because I have two little kids, two babies, Tommy and Zoe, 15 months apart. And then I get back on my feet. So go broke, make all the money back, and then some. Build a big house, do it all over again. But again, not helping others, serving me. That's the devil's work, not God's work. Then, fast forward to where we are today, and not making money for 4.5 years, but taking a different mindset on life, surrounding myself with like-minded people that understand me, and then I'm not arguing with everybody all the time or getting the backhanded compliments or any of that stuff. People understanding how I feel, my wife listening and understanding and knowing the mental struggles that I go through. Because, listen, at the end of the day, anybody with addiction has demons. I think everybody has demons. Like we all, and most people don't face them because God didn't put us on this earth to be perfect. So the devil will always tempt you. And when that happens, people don't really want to say, oh, wow, I was overboard last night, or wow, I've been drinking way too much, or wow, I've been hitting the weed pad way too much, too many times a day. Because we don't take accountability. It's one thing I promise you, since I've started this journey from Puerto Rico to here over the last, 5.5 years, never once lied. Take accountability. I've always taken accountability, even when I was wrong. And that's probably what used to eat me up inside the most, when I was doing things that were not right. um, probably put me in more anger, um, made me drink more because I wasn't happy with me. And that's the other part of life, right? Like a lot of guys that are super competitive, super they lose the focus about them, and they're always trying to please others. I'm a pleaser. Like I want to solve problems, please others, help others. But then sometimes I lose like my vision of what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Like you get, and my wife always says, sometimes you're overflowing with that. Sometimes you got to bring it back in and think about the family. And again, it goes back to balance, right? And the word balance just keeps popping up like all over because, and again, you take the three major prongs, right? So then you talk about the wealth part. That part of my life is going to come back again. And I've done a lot of homework about things and about myself to know that I'm going to get back on top. But I have a different vision of what my wealth is because I have a ton of wealth right now. I'll figure out the next step, but like I've never been in a more happy place in my life because of the people that are around me and how much my kids, and all of their friends that I speak to, that how much they love me. And it gives me this euphoric feeling to know that when I started this journey with Kaizen Cast, and again, I want to have 1 million followers. I want to be, on the Sean Ryan show. I want to talk to Tim Tebow. I told my wife this morning, man, I need to meet Tim Tebow. That guy's a dude. Like I mean, you know, I, I'm much older than him, but like, his career path and his vision with God and his belief. When I was going through my times of struggle and I was doing my own thing but making tons of money, I used to be like, that guy's a whack. He's crazy. Now that I've calmed myself down and brought God back into my life, it's truly amazing to see what that young man is doing and how far he took sports. But then, you know, he realized that that was enough. I mean, he made it to the NFL. He won a national championship, then went on to play minor league baseball. I mean, what a freak athlete! But also knowing that his time was up because his real journey was to serve God.